Autoline Daily is brought to you by Borg Warner. Feel good about driving. Bosch. The number of clean diesel models in North America will double by 2014. Bosch Clean Diesel. Good, clean, fun. Bridgestone. Your journey, our passion. Dow Automotive Systems. Improving durability and increasing design flexibility with Betamate structural adhesives at dowbetamate.com. And by the 2013 Hyundai Sonata. Learn more at hyundaisonata.com.
Hello and welcome to Autoline Daily. It's Friday, F-R-I-D-A-Y, the 29th of June 2012. I'm Andrew Justice, the last of your guest hosts this week and the last host before America's 236th birthday. Here's the news. As you all know, General Motors is bleeding money in Europe because the German brand Opel is struggling. To help combat these losses, GM's supervisory board approved a new plan to restructure the brand. According to the Detroit News, it calls for new investments in Opel and Vauxhall products, 23 new models, and 13 new powertrains by 2016, exporting vehicles to emerging markets including China, and reducing development and production costs through alliances. Last year, GM lost close to $750 million in Europe. There's good news if you're in the market for a used car. Ward's Auto reports that prices for used cars are starting to fall because sales of new cars are picking up this year. 60% of this year's sales involve trade-ins, which means close to 1 million used cars will be added to the market. A number of new and refreshed vehicles are about to hit the market, which will push used prices down even further. The National Auto Dealers Association forecasts that used car prices will drop 3% in July. One world, one Ford. The Blue Oval is focusing on its business plan like a sniper on his target, which hopefully isn't a person. A key part of this strategy involves reducing the number of vehicle platforms in production, something the company says it is addressing. At a recent press event, we interviewed Hao Tai-Tang, Ford's Global Vice President of Engineering. He commented on the progress they're making in streamlining the product lineup.
The industry trend is the global markets are converging with the information revolution and the wealth grow, the parity is being achieved across all markets, and consumer requirements are converging. One of the things we're really focused on under One Ford is streamlining and reducing the number of platforms we use all around the world. So if you look typically over our business plan period as a 5-year period, we're going to see about a 50% reduction in these core platforms, and by the end of the business plan, Ford will be among the industry leaders in terms of reducing the number of platforms and the amount of leverage or volume scale we get off of these platforms.
We've got more of the latest auto news coming up, but first I want to remind you to kick off your 4th of July weekend by celebrating freedom from podcast hosts. Tonight on Roundabout, we're holding our first ever all-fan show where you determine the agenda. We'll be discussing only the stories you submit, so make sure you join us live at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time and jump in the chat room at autoline.tv. But if you can't be there live, we're not going to leave you out in the cold. Just send us your stories and topics to roundaboutshow@gmail.com. And now, back to some of the news I would like to talk about. In an economy that's been reluctant to add jobs, automobile manufacturing continues to show strength. Chrysler is pondering adding a 3rd shift at its Warren truck plant. The company is optimistic about pickup sales going forward and said the decision to add another shift depends largely on the ability of suppliers to keep up. The plant currently employs over 2,300 people and could add between 800 and 1,000 with another shift. In Canton, Mississippi, Nissan is doing 8 things at once, or so it seems. The Japanese automaker is trying to quell UAW efforts to unionize the plant, while at the same time moving production of the Sentra and Xterra SUVs and Frontier pickup to the plant, adding 1,000 jobs in the process. The factory currently builds the Altima sedan, Titan pickup truck, the Armada SUV, and the NV commercial van. After the additional hires, the Canton plant will employ 4,500 workers, the company says. Hey, want to learn about what's happening on the latest episode of Autoline This Week? Stick around because there's a free sample coming your way.
You know why I pulled you over, ma'am? I need you to recalibrate the Doppler shift on the return signal. Radar's on the frisk.
Do Sonata drivers know something you don't? The Sonata from Hyundai.
The topic on Autoline this week is the North American Car and Truck of the Year Awards. What new vehicles have hit the market, in the first half of 2012? Which ones are worth owning and what ones should you avoid? Well, host John McElroy and his journalist colleagues have the answers. He's joined in studio by Mark Phelan from the Detroit Free Press and Paul Eisenstein from the DetroitBureau.com. And here's a little taste.
Paul, Cadillac XTS. Have you been in that one?
Yeah, I just drove it recently. It's interesting because you may recall in the original days when they were showing it to us, they kept using the word flagship. And they'd try to compare it to almost a 7 Series. And then they sort of downgrade to the 5. They're having a problem figuring out where they were actually positioning this vehicle. Is it a sort of 5, Audi A6, BMW, Mercedes E-Class? It probably isn't up to the toughest of the performance-oriented European vehicles, but it's a solid, fun vehicle to drive. In fact, what really surprised me was I thought I was getting into the all-wheel drive version when we headed up into the canyons north of Los Angeles. Malibu, for those people that don't know, they think of LA as just, boring driving. You get out of the city and it's wonderful. And I had the front drive by mistake, and I was really pleasantly surprised with the driving. And even more so when I got behind the wheel of the Platinum all-wheel drive. It's a very good vehicle. It's really pretty, a lot of technology. The question is it enough to drag some people back out of those Europeans?
Mm-hmm. And is it a car that can satisfy the old-style Cadillac owner who wants room, a big trunk, a big back seat, while also reaching out to some of those newer customers who wouldn't have touched the big soft old Cadillac with a 10-foot pole? I mean, this is another vehicle that has to thread a needle, and it's going to be fascinating to watch.
I think on the rear seat room they'll be okay. They've got 12 inches over the CTS, which really you can see in the back seat. What was one of the biggest surprises, which gave it some nice performance bona fides and handling, was the fact that it's actually lighter than the CTS.
Really?
Yes, it's 4,100 to 4,300 pounds, depending on all-wheel, rear wheel. Yes, that was the big stunner.
That's impressive.
It's also got the MagnaRide system.
So it rides beautifully.
Right, for those who don't know, it's a continuously variable suspension. The biggest complaint I had, oddly enough, was the gearbox. Not that it's a 6-speed, but that it was not able to shift into sport mode. And so when you were on those hills and you throttled down, it was a very slow downshift. It was old-fashioned, oh, do you want me to shift? Oh, okay, sort of gearbox. That's an easy programming thing. I think they heard it from everybody. I'd be surprised if they go to production without tweaking the transmission settings.
What other new cars and trucks did the trio discuss? Well, you're going to have to watch to find out, and you can do that right now on our website, Autoline.tv. And just another reminder before I sign off, Autoline is off the air next week. We'll be kicking back and relaxing because our offices are closed for the 4th of July holiday. Happy birthday, America. Anyway, that's all for today's program. Thanks for stopping by and have a classy 4th of July. I'm Andrew Justice, and we'll see you July 9th.
Ward's is the industry leader for news, data, and analysis. That's why companies across the globe subscribe to our premium service, maybe even your own. Log in for subscriber access now. Check your company's intranet for details, and rely on wardsauto.com to keep you informed.